So State, are you ready? Yes. Go ahead, Ms. Richstone.
Heightened premeditation. The state of Florida is asking you all to think very hard and deliberate over these aggravators that we are presenting to you in the state of Florida versus Christopher Vasata. The first one that we have proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Christopher Vasata was previously convicted of another capital felony or of a felony involving the use or threat of violence to another person. What does that mean? That means that his activities that evening, the 3 counts of first-degree murder, those are capital offenses. Those are capital felonies. He has been convicted of those. And the attempted first-degree murder with a firearm against Charlie Vorpagel, he is now convicted of that as well. So the law allows for an aggravating factor to be created from the conduct within that crime for which he is here for sentencing for you. In other words, the different actions that he took, this is not just one first-degree murder that he committed. It's not just 2, it's 3 first-degree murders that he committed, one after another, as well as the attempted first-degree murder. So we are asking you all to find that we've proven that aggravated factor beyond a reasonable doubt, because we have, that this defendant was previously convicted of another felony when he began to commit another felony due to his multiple acts that evening, due to his multiple capital felonies that evening. We're not just standing here on 1 count of first-degree murder asking you to sentence someone to death. This is 3 counts of first-degree murder and the 1 count of aggravated attempted first-degree murder. The second aggravator, that the murder was committed, murder or murders, because you have the option to find on separate findings on each count. You could find on count 1 the death penalty, count 2 life in prison, count 3 life in prison. Doesn't have to be all the same. Each count you may deliberate on its own and reach a decision. So the first-degree murder or first-degree murders was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner. One may think to themselves, but it's first-degree murder. We've already found premeditation, right? Within the crime itself, how could that also be an aggravator? Well, there are certain circumstances when it can be heightened premeditation. And you all received the instruction in the guilt phase that killing is premeditated if it occurs after the defendant consciously decides to kill, on, and you just heard it again. However, in order for this aggravating factor to apply, a heightened level of premeditation demonstrated by a substantial period of reflection is required. What do we have here? Well, remember those texts we had from, well, let me actually back up to the day before the murder. Christopher Vasata went over to Charlie Vorpagel's home. Remember, asking to buy assault rifles, looking around. It's always been the state's contention that Christopher Vasata went over to Charlie Vorpagel's home that night before the homicide to case it out, to scope it out, to see where the firearms were, what type of danger they would be facing, him and his co-defendants, when they came to kill the next day. Also, that evening, the night before the homicide, Vasata had the opportunity, yet again, he'd been over to that house many times. Vasata, the night before the homicide, had the opportunity to see what cars were normally in the driveway. So the day of the homicide, what do we have? We have Vasata coordinating with Marcus Stewart, whose DNA is all over these same items, same as Vasata. They're working together in concert. We know they came together, at least the 2 of them, in the same car, because we've got Stewart's phones and Vasata's phone in that BMW. We know those 2 are definitely working together. They were planning this homicide. The text, what time are you coming? I'm on my way. How do we know this wasn't just a fight gone bad or something like that? A few things tell us that. Number one, the way they came into the house. They didn't come in through the front door. They didn't ring the doorbell. They came in all the way through the back, through the fenced area. This was a plan to ambush. This wasn't a robbery gone bad. This wasn't a, I panicked and accidentally hit the trigger. I didn't mean to kill him. This was a planned hit. No words except the one quick sentence that Charlie Vorpagel told you he heard was uttered. It wasn't a robbery. Vasata and Stewart, and if there was another person back there with them, they knew there were additional people back there. There was a strange car in the driveway, Brandy's car. Why couldn't they have waited another night? They knew. And you know how we know they could see in that backyard? Because their intended target, Sean Henry, was shot 17 times. The two girls were shot 4 and 5 times. Sean Henry 17 times. And Charlie Vorpagel, when he was running, they could see well enough to follow him along and shoot into the fence in the air conditioner. What does all that mean? It means that despite the fact that their intended targets, that there were more people back there than just their intended targets were there, that the two girls were there, 2 innocent girls. They didn't care. Vasata didn't care. His intent to kill was so strong and so planned out. That plan was going through that night no matter what. And this was a well thought out plan. They walked a mile. They had a mile to think, man, what are we doing? Why do we have to do this? That, ladies and gentlemen, is heightened premeditation. So the cold, calculated, and premeditated has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt as well. So we have proven to you the aggravating factors beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm not going to read through the entire law just as the judge has done, but obviously that part has been proven. The mitigating factors testimony has been proven to you, and not to be cliche, and it sounds cliche, but it's also true. Many, 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 many people have very bad childhoods, and they don't grow up and kill 3 people. That wasn't a child back there that night. That was an adult. That was Christopher Vasata, the adult. Christopher Vasata, who grew up and had much exposure to normal, healthy people. His whole teenage years in Jupiter, he was surrounded by good people. But for whatever reason, Vasata chose the easy life, to make money, to become the drug dealer, to play with the guns, which then led to all of this. So that was his choice. And now it's your choice to weigh all of the aggravators that were given to you as well as the mitigators. And as Ms. Howard said earlier, we do. We selected you, and we all trust that you will make the right decision. We just ask that you don't forget the actual acts of this crime, because within those acts are the aggravating factors for this brutal, senseless, cruel homicides. Thank you.